Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. Today we're going to be doing a game review, since that's usually what MC Swigga does. And since he's done a couple of videos about Donkey Kong throughout the years, I think I got the perfect game for today. Today we're talking about Donkey Kong 5. Never heard of this game? Well, that's to be expected. It's not a real Donkey Kong game. It's a cheap Chinese bootleg. Yeah, last week we looked at one of many rip-off movies I've done throughout the years, but it's taken me this long to finally get to a rip-off game. As we've already learned, with anything popular, there comes an influx of cheap imitators, whether it's movies, TV shows, merchandise, and of course video games. From the biggest names like Disney to Nintendo, these games are everywhere, and today we're looking at a very infamous Donkey Kong bootleg game. One that has the audacity to call itself Donkey Kong 5 even though there's no Donkey Kong 4. Not counting this SNES bootleg game, of course. Oh, but get a load of the actual name on the title screen. It's Donkey Kong: The Journey of Over Time and Space. Yeah, not since Aladdin and the Adventure of All Time have I heard a title that broken. This game was made by the Taiwanese company Syntax, a company that specialized in a lot of low-tier games for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. The details about this company's lifespan is a little nebulous. Some sources just seem to guess they started around the 90s, roughly around the same time these handheld consoles were out, and then guess they closed up shop around 2009. Most of their websites seem to be shut down or archived at best. Not sure how this company could have possibly failed with such winning titles like Digimon Adventures and Super Contra 7 and Star Wars 4, Metal Slug 3, Disney Card. Oh god, these look terrible. I've been doing this for almost 10 years and it's taken me this long to actually get to a bootleg game to review. Well, guess we can finally cross this off our bucket lists. This is Donkey Kong 5. We get the story explained through a text crawl, all the while the actions being described play out. Allow me to read some of this glorious assault on the English language. The pretty and virtuous girl Sedana was Donkey Kong's friend. She was the spirit what charge of all the plant in the world. She distributed sunlight, air, and water to each plant every day so that they could grow up healthy and strongly. But the Lambado lived in the darksome corner, didn't like the darksome corner, didn't like the world full of green grass and bloomy flower. So the evil Lambado abducted Sodoma to arrest the growth of the life. From then on, the banana and the wild fruit the Donkey Kong loved had been lacked too. The world had become desolate at once. There were no anything to eat. Donkey Kong felt very hungry, and the famine made him thinner and thinner. Finally, he became a monkey. The poor Donkey Kong can but left the forest, begun his difficult journey to search for food and save Sodoma. This is the most bizarre thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Let's take this one step at a time, shall we? So there's a human girl called Sodoma that Donkey Kong is friends with, who grows various jungle fruits and foliage. Then some evil vampire creature called the Lambado, or the Lambado, it's not spelled consistently, of course, shows up and kidnaps Sodoma, and this caused all the food in the world around them to deteriorate, and Donkey Kong became so scrawny he then turned into Diddy Kong, as well as Blue apparently. So now he leaves the jungle to save Sodoma and find food along the way.
Everybody got that? Good!
Alright, in all seriousness, let's actually see how the game plays. Just call it quits for today and just leave it at that. I think that perfectly sums up the game. Until next week, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. No, can't cop out. Let's do this. So here we get into the game proper, and yeah, it should be pretty apparent what's wrong here. Gameplay-wise, it's basically a carbon copy of Mario. It's a platformer where you jump onto enemies and sometimes it kills them. Other times, it results in you taking damage. Instead of coins, you collect a bunch of bananas. One key difference here is that the blocks don't just burst when you jump up onto them, but instead you can access power-ups by hitting certain blocks. Instead of mushrooms, the power-ups are, well, it's supposed to be some kind of meat, like ham, but I don't know. Me personally, it looks like some kind of giant candy that's in a wrapper or something. And there's also these pipes that you can't go down, except when you can. Just like with the jumping, it's a grab bag as to whether or not you can or can't go down certain warp pipes. Either way, the power-ups turn you from Diddy Kong into Donkey Kong, and for whatever reason, when you hold down the B button to run, your running animation as Donkey Kong turns you into a mini tornado that they clearly nabbed from some Tasmania game. After all, it's not enough to just steal the gameplay from one of the most popular games of all time and take the main character from another. No, you can take assets from other games that people probably aren't as familiar with when you just don't give a crap like the people that made this did. Oh, and it doesn't stop there. Listen to the music. I'm not even the world's biggest Pokemon fan, and yet I can tell that a lot of this music is blatantly stolen from Pokemon Pinball. I'll give it to these guys. They got real balls of steel trying to steal from Nintendo. You know, one of the biggest sticklers for copyright out there. I mean, this is the reason that whenever fans make fan-made games of popular Nintendo IPs, they're immediately met with cease and desist letters because of crappy-ass bootlegs like this. As for the enemies, we got a lot of interesting faces that certainly didn't come from any Donkey Kong game, or any Mario game for that matter. Instead of Goombas, Koopa Troopas, and Piranha Plants, you get little dinosaur-looking things, these robot pillbug things, walking bombs, green chihuahua bats, armless Mason Voorhees, and these jack-in-the-box worm creatures with straw hats. Easily the worst thing about the gameplay is the lag. Whenever there's too many characters or items on the screen, there's this awful lag where things just slow down and then miraculously speed up when it's not convenient at all. And like in Mario, each level ends with you sliding down a flagpole, or in this game's case, a pole that has a bell that rings when you slide down it. Oh, and they even have the fake-out endings where they pull the Princess in Another Castle routine, with even more broken English. Donkey Kong breathed freely, for got away from the pretty pass, and saw Sodoma, who had been abducted for a long time. When he prepared to save Sodoma, suddenly smoke trailed, and he heard Sodoma's scream, "Donkey Kong, help!" So until we get to the final level, this is pretty much the entire game. There's not really a whole lot to say here. But before we get to the last level, I will show you some of the different level design that we get to see all throughout this thing. We have such creative locations like desert, jungle, North American forest, farmland hillside, castles, underwater, outer space, cities, and clearly recolored worlds for Mario. Yeah, I don't have any specific name for this. You know, the more I play this game, I actually found myself getting used to the awful lag with the controls. It's like you have to maneuver and try to make actual progress through the terrible controls. There's apparently a way that you can get a power-up in the form of a beaker that gives you freeze powers, I guess, because you turn blue and you shoot this white-blue stuff from your hands. Long before they did it in Mario Galaxy, so there is that. Okay, I somehow managed to get to the end of the game, and we made it to Bowser's Castle. Right away, the first thing you're greeted with is this creepy-ass Game Boy music. Real shame, because this music actually isn't too bad. Like, if you put this in a horror game for the Game Boy, like Castlevania or something, it'd actually be pretty effective. But no, it's unfortunately in a piece of crap game like this. The trickiest part of this whole level is this part here where you have to work your way around these rotating sticks. From my experience, the best way to do this is have complete concentration, make sure you have a power-up before you go in there, and even if you get hit, you'll run out of there before you can get hit again. And then you just kind of have to book it so you can jump on this platform before you can either fall to your death or not make the jump. After that, it's pretty much smooth sailing. You just gotta jump from platform to platform, don't fall into the lava below or get hit by enemies or projectiles. Then you work your way up to the Lambada, get past him, throw the switch, and then you get an end screen. Donkey Kong came through all kinds of difficulties, conquered Le Bon Blanc, and saved Sodoma. Finally, so the world resumed livingness from then on. You said it, not me. Alright. So that was Donkey Kong 5, and yeah, this game sucks. A lot of the elements are nabbed wholesale from other games, the design is a gigantic mishmash, the controls are sluggish, and it's a blatant ripoff of a beloved game character. Since I haven't reviewed a lot of other ripoff games, it's kind of hard to compare and contrast here, but I will say, despite its awfulness, it is at least playable. Yeah, the controls are awful, and unless you're up for a challenge, I wouldn't see anyone wanting to play this beyond one level. But it's the kind of bad game I'd love for people to see. It's one of those bad pieces of media that you just want to share with others so they know something so bafflingly weird and terrible exists. Worst game I ever reviewed? Well, I was able to beat it, so I can't really go that far, but believe me, it is definitely up there. Well, I just got one more video left for April, and next time we're going to be talking about something pony related like Pony Fanboy would usually do. But until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.